Hi everyone, so here it is. We're going to do a little Easter egg hunt card here, and I've put the little brolly in this time as well instead of the balloons, but you could just as easily swap them up if you like. So this is what we're going to be making, or something at least very similar, and we're going to use the Oriental Blossom. We're going to use our little welly set, the Winter Stroll, a little bit of up and away because I want the little clouds that are in there, taking cover for the brolly, extra special. Having trouble saying that. If you want to make it into a little Easter egg style card, and then we're going to use our tattered wreath for some extra background as well. So a little bit different for me this time. I'm going to use a little bit of the Distress Oxide, which gives you this slightly different colour. Now if you haven't got this, don't worry, because you could just do the same thing with our usual baby wipe technique and just use the bamboo. So I've basically started this. Now I don't want this too dark because what we're going to do is blend over the top with our stencil. And don't forget, you could just use a little bit of the bamboo to do this. So you don't have to use this Distress Oxide, but I do quite like this colour. It's a very pretty colour. This is Shabby Shutters. So just blend over the edges. Now you're wanting to leave the middle section nice and bright there, because that's where we're going to be doing all our stamping in the middle. So we're going to stamp our Oriental Blossom in the middle there. So once you've got that, and you've got that as dark as you want it all the way around, we're going to start to add some of the little stencil here. Now, for this one, because this is quite a delicate stencil, I'm just going to go in with a little brush. Again, you can use the baby wipe technique, so if you haven't got a little stencil brush, don't worry about it. You don't really need it. But it does make it a little bit easier because it's quite a delicate stencil. And we're looking to just sort of go over the top. So just vary the sort of position of the little stencil here that you've got. And again, you don't want them all very, very dark, so don't sort of go too heavy with this. And just basically pick out little areas of the stencil and just keep working over the edge until you're happy. You'll see I've done a little bit more in the corners there than we have sort of in the middle of the card. So just pick out little areas that you want. On here, we'll do this little bit here. And it's just to add a little bit of interest in the card as well around the edges. So again, not too much ink, a little bit. Don't forget, if you haven't got a stencil brush and you haven't got distress inks, then bamboo is very, very close to this. So a little bit here. And you'll see I'm being very, very random with this. Like I said, this doesn't have to be perfect. It's not meant to sort of really take over the card. It's just to give you a little bit of interest in the background. Okay, so once we've done this, then we're going to stamp our little Oriental Blossom in the middle. So you can see I've been playing already this morning. So this is Oriental Blossom branch, and we're going to use a little bit of pine cone in here as well. And then what we're going to do is, one, make sure your card's the right way up. And then we're going to stamp this at the top. And then we're going to lift and we're going to rotate, and then we're just going to move that stamp slightly. And that's just going to thicken up the edges of your wreath shape here. But always make sure that the first one you do is curved inwards, because that is the darkest colour that you've got, and it's the one that your eye is always going to be drawn to. So if you want to make this look really circular, then just make sure that that's curled in for the first stamp that you do. Okay, so all four corners. And then what we're going to do is just join this up. So just take your stamp and pop it between the two. Now you can rotate your card if you'd rather. Entirely up to you, whatever makes this easier for you. But you'll see this is the only time I'm not rotating it. Sorry, not rotating the stamp, but what we are doing is just walking the stamp from one to the other, like that, until you've joined up that wreath. So just position it where you would want it, and then just join up your shape like that. So just here. then just sort of fill that out and make sure you've got a nice continuous wreath going all the way around. Okay, so there we have our wreath shape. So now what we need to do is just give ourselves a little paper mask. Now you see me do this lots and lots of time because we're going to start to work on that middle section. So if you just cut yourself a little paper mask. So just cut yourself a little hillside. Sorry about that, I couldn't find my scissors then for a second. Okay, and then just use a little bit of the removable adhesive that we have on the website. Now I always take a little bit of the sticky off just to make sure it's not going to be too tacky. And then what we're going to do, we're going to go back to the shabby shutters here, and we're just going to use a little bit of that. Now again, you can use your baby wipe and your bamboo, don't worry if you haven't got this, it doesn't matter. I'm just going to do a little bit more. So this is where all our stamping's going to go. Okay. So once we've done that, we're going to mask out this bottom half. And then what we're going to do is go back to our sort of well-used lovely colours. So we're going to use our Versacolour. And then we're going to use a little bit of the grey. So I'm just going to go around the edges here. We don't want too much because obviously we're going to be stamping in front of this. So just bear that in mind when you're putting your colour on. And then what I'm going to do is just go a little bit into the background here. Now it might sort of blur that brown a little bit or sort of soften that up, but don't worry about that, it just adds to the overall effect. So just don't put too much on, make sure you sort of get some of it off on your finger first. So you're creating this lovely soft sky. Now we're going to do the little clouds. So this is Chateau Grey. So this is the one with the hot air balloons in. And you'll see me ink up the whole thing, but what I'm going to do is just unevenly apply pressure. You'll see me rocking it slightly. And what you're aiming to do is take off patches of that cloud. So you get a very sort of patchy looking cloud when you stamp it. This is quite a new ink. It tends to work better with a slightly older ink. So let's just see what we get this time. Okay, I'm going to stamp that down. So you're looking for a nice soft cloud. So once we've done that, we're then going to blend this out. So it just goes nice and soft into that background. Okay, so now we've done that, let's get to our main picture. So we want our wellies and we want our little umbrella. Okay, so this one I'm going to ink up in lilac all the way over, just a different sort of colour scheme here. So all over in the lilac, which is your palest colour that we're going to use on here. And then I'm just going to use a little bit of heliotrope and we're just going to pick up on that handle. And then we're just going to sort of edge it, just for a little bit of pop and a little bit of shadow. So just go all the way around with a little bit of that. And then we're going to stamp that as far over to this right hand corner as we can. So just make sure you're giving that a press everywhere like that. Okay, and then we take that off and there's our little brolly. Next thing we'll do is our little wellies. So these have been done in green tea. So you've not often seen me use green tea, but it is a lovely colour. Right, now that is a really brand new ink, so I'm just going to make sure that that is not too wet. No, that'll be fine. Okay. So let's just ink that up nice and well. And then that one is just going to stamp just right by these wellies. So right by the umbrella there, like that. Okay, so our little ones, we're going to use our bamboo. So all over with the bamboo. And then I'm just going to use a little bit of that green tea just to sort of darken around the edges here to give them a little bit of shadow. So don't be frightened, you're going to get ink on your block here. But you know, there's no edges to these stamps, so you don't really have to worry about sort of picking up any edges and stamping those down. Okay, so there's our little wellies with a little bit of shadow. So we've got our main pieces in now. So what we're going to do is put a couple of the little mice in as well. So we've got one, as you can see, that's sort of coming out of the top of one of those wellies. So what I'm going to do is just put a little bit of paper down here like that. And then we're going to ink up our little mouse. And then that one is just going to go into the top of the welly, so it's going to look like it's coming out of that welly boot. And then this one, we're just going to have right down here at the bottom. Just like that. So let's put a few little eggs in as well. So let's pick up on those colours that we've already been using. So we'll use a little bit of the lilac. We'll just start to stamp these in and around those welly boots. So we've got quite a good haul here. So just picking up on all those colours that we've already used. And let's use a slightly darker one, so let's go for the peony. So let's have one about there. Okay, so next we'll fill in with a little bit of grass. So we're going back to our bamboo. You'll see the bamboo is actually a very, very similar colour to the shabby shutters. So we might start having a little bit of a play with the distress inks in the next few demonstrations, and we'll try and get those on the website for you. Okay, so next thing we're going to do is start to add in our little details. So again, I'm going to use my bamboo and we're going to use a little bit of peony, and we're just going to use a little balloon streamer, and we're just going to start to hang this off the edge of this wreath. This is very pretty. Now just make sure, because it's very, very delicate, this stamp, you don't want to put too much pressure. So I'm pretty much just touching this to the cardstock, so it's very, very light pressure. And then we'll do a little bit of these in peony. But it's so delicate, but it's very, very pretty. It's probably one of my favourite little stamps. So this is in the balloon set. And then what we can do is go back to our good old Oriental Blossom, and we're going to start to fill in with some little flowers on here. So again, you can do as much or as little as you like. And the Oriental Blossom is so versatile. If you imagine this done in more wintry colours, you could do an absolutely beautiful winter design with the snow and the umbrella and the little wellies in the background. So let's use a little bit of bamboo as well, and just put a couple of extra leaves in. So you can see you don't want that background too dark, because you still want your middle design to sort of be taking centre stage. Okay. So you can go all the way around if you want to. It really doesn't matter, whichever you prefer. Okay, and then once we've done that, it's just a case of touching up. So one thing that I have just started doing was just sort of having a play and sort of outlining some of these stamps. So if you want to make something pop, the black I find is just a little bit too heavy depending on what colours you're using. But if you just use a little pencil, you can really just sort of give those a little bit of extra dimension, especially sort of on your paler images. So if you just want to make that pop just that little bit more, if you just sort of go around there with a little pencil, or even a grey fine liner would do as well. So just makes those pop a little bit more. So we're just going to pop a little bit of the liquid pearls now just on the tops of these little flowers. You could also pull out the little wellies and things on there, or the little eggs as well you could do with little dots. And you can do these as little berries as well. So just over the top like that. And then we're going to go straight back to our glossy accents. And we're just going to put a little bit on the welly. So just on the tips of those wellies. Just to highlight the actual centre. Like that. And there we go. That's our finished little card. So I hope you like that. Thank you so much for watching. Thanks. Bye.